All righty, what is going on, ladies and gents? Welcome back to the channel for another market update. Hope everybody had a lovely day. And with that being said, dive into the TA. All right, guys, kicking off here with the indices. We'll go over SPY, QQQ, go over the Mag 7 stocks, even though they're still reporting earnings. And then I got some tickers at the end of the video just for you that are standing out. All right, let's get after it. Okay, so we printed a hangman candlestick today. All right, we're kind of still just floating, in the air here. We were pointing out the last two videos here. We have pointed out that, yeah, we continue climbing higher here with these 15-minute and 1-hour bearish divergences. Something, all right, something. We are looking to give us an upper wick here on this weekly candle. We are looking for sellers to step in by end of week. We're looking for them to close you out with an upper wick on the weekly candle. All right, which just kind of tells me, expectation wise, if we drift higher tomorrow, look for a topping tail, look for it to sell into Friday. That's pretty much it. Don't got to overcomplicate it. At some point, guess what? When that does that, it typically ends up pulling back, and you'll see this 1-hour RSI reset. Well, that could have been all she wrote for the time being. It looks like we could literally just shoot right back up to new highs tomorrow. I just don't think they'll hold if we get them. All right, but I could be wrong. So not going to spend much time going over these things today, guys. We do still have Amazon and Apple reporting tomorrow. Okay, today, guys, we had Microsoft with the dump. We had Google with the pump. And we had Meta with the mega dump. Okay. Oh, this is a big old load of diarrhea over here on Meta's chart. Okay. That's it. He had a loose butt today. Okay. It spilled. It just spilled right out. Real talk. Leave this guy alone. Okay. Just leave it alone. Let him, let him find a bottom over there. At some point, you're going to see this thing start basing out and we see that thing reverse. But, if we just sold massively off earnings, probably going to be something like that, okay, where you build out a little base and then you reverse off it. So I'm just letting you know, expect that to form over the coming sessions. It doesn't have to be perfect, but 100%, that's what I'm looking for next. I'm looking for buyers step in at some point. I'm looking for a base to form, and then I'm expecting price to push up from said base. If you don't get that, then you just leave it alone. That's pretty much it. You don't have to go buying the falling knife. All right, coming over to Google, guys, it did end up, making new highs. You're gapping up a whole, 6 to 7% right now. Crazy stuff. It's going to that 300 psych level. And you come over here to Microsoft, and you're all the way back down here. But here's the thing, guys. Since we already got this close to this previous high here, we're going to call it an equal high. At some point, we're going to revisit here. That's all that tells you, okay? So we're now pulling back into the daily moving average here on Microsoft. I'm expecting this dip to be bought. I don't know exactly how it's going to shape up in the short term there, but I am expecting that dip to be bought. But yeah, we have Amazon and Apple earnings after the bell tomorrow. So, that's why I say we're not going to spend too much time talking about these things right now because, all this can change by tomorrow. So all I'm going to tell you is 110%. We are still looking for, and we could be wrong, okay, but 13 out of 13 times over a 2-year period, if you've had the same condition we had as we pushed into new all-time highs on decreasing volume this week, or last week coming into this week, 13 out of 13 times you have that condition since December 2023, you have seen on that next weekly candle, some way, shape, or form, you see sellers stepping in. Whether that be, something like over here where you push higher and then boom, you have an upper wick and you continue pulling back the next week, or whether you just have a big fat red candlestick, I have no idea. All right. Or you get a gap down to start the next week. But as of right now, we have gotten nothing but upside. All right. So that condition is not, it's not fulfilled there. All right. And if 13 out of 13 times it's happened, it's probably going to happen. So, I'm just taking the safe approach here and taking profits into moves here, trying to take off risk, ahead of today's FOMC event there. I thought that was the move. Well, why? Because, well, you got one of these things loading. I don't get bearish too often, but, I'll definitely point out, for good reason. Let's look at it this way. Okay, I've been right on every single thing over here. Every dip buy, I've been accurate on it. I was hoping for a larger sell over here to take advantage of it. We didn't get it. The market doesn't want to make it easy. We didn't end up getting it. All right, but at some point, guess what? When things are extended, you pull back. That's just how that works. Okay. And again, 13 out of 13 times, we have the same condition we had coming into this week. Yeah, I'm not going to, bet against those odds. I'm not going to, short the market. I'm not telling anybody to. I'm just telling you, you're probably going to get a pullback into end of week. And we definitely do have PC on Friday. And then tomorrow after the bell, heading into Friday, we're going to have those big tech earnings. All right. So we'll see how the market digests, these, Microsoft, Google, and Meta earnings tomorrow. All right. As of right now, they were a nothing burger, and the market's just going to do whatever it wants. And, I'm just going to say we started rolling over today. We're underneath the hourly 21 EMA. Either you pop back above here, where you get over, we'll say 688, probably start pushing back up the highs, tag 690. All right. Or you're rejecting here and you're going to have a larger rollover. That's about it. Okay. It's simple as that, which I'm still going to say odds favor you selling into end of week. So that's, again, I'm not telling anybody to short the market. I'm definitely not telling anybody to do that. I am just telling you, I think you go like this, and then I think you go like that. Over the last few videos, I also talked about the last 3 cycle levels, or last 3 $100 cycle levels here on the S&P 500 SPY here. Okay. You've gotten 5 to 10 points within that cycle level, pulled back, and then you ran back up to tag the cycle level. That, I've been saying, aligns with 690 to 695 being tagged, and then we pull back. Everyone's like, oh, we're going to get a larger correction, and then you shoot back up. You hit that $700 cycle level. I don't know what comes after that, all right? But if you get a decent pullback here, just realize it's probably, very likely, going to be bought, all right, up to that 700 cycle level. It's just in the cards. It's something that's likely going to be the case. You might as well not position yourself against that. Okay, so what does this tell us? Another piece of the puzzle there. If we do get the sell that we have 13 out of 13, times suggesting, yeah, all right, like we're probably going to see that happen. Okay, so if we do just get what makes sense, we know probably by the next week it also gets bought. All right, and then we do have, the second part of this rally. All right, so, I'm just speaking out loud here. This is how you could play it. You had things like Palantir popping off today, guys. Please start taking your profits on Palantir. You don't know financial advice. Do whatever the heck you want to do. But we've been on this thing for 5 weeks in this freaking range over here, and you're just now getting the movement. Before earnings, you got the movement before FOMC. It was beautiful. Okay, beautiful. Now, I could tell you we're going to go to $200. We're probably going 210, 220. But the question is, do they wait to do it next week? We don't know. I'm just pointing out, if the market's likely going to pull back into end of week, you might as well be taking things off. If NVIDIA pulls back, the market comes with it. NVIDIA is so far above these, daily moving average, the daily 5 EMA here. Okay, it's still, even though it pulled back, almost 10 points off the high, 8 points off the high there, peak to trough there. It is still about 10 points above the 5 EMA. Like straight up, this thing, if it pulls back, market pulls back. That's just how it is. And at some point, this thing stops going vertical. Like every other move, you eventually get that little mean reversion. That means this blue line right here, the 9 EMA, is going to catch up the price. It's probably going to be somewhere around $200. Okay. All right. Let's go over levels there on SPY and QQ. I just wanted to make myself real clear where this market is right now. We're probably going to see that sell, and we're probably also going to see it bought up by next week. That's worth thinking. We'll take it as we go. But, I've been very vocal about it the last few sessions here. We've just been floating in the air. I think it's definitely, your opportunity to take profits before FOMC and Mag 7, earnings there. And, I'll hit this for you.
That was easy.
If you end up, doing the right thing, doing right by yourself. Okay. On the upside, SPY guys, 689.70 didn't quite get 690, off by 30 cents. 689.70 above there. Obviously, if 690, we're just going to say 695 and then $700. On the downside, 685.54, 682.12. 678.47 and 673.95. Coming over to QQQ. On the upside, we have today's high 637.01. Above there, 640, 645, 650. On the downside, we're watching 628.55, 624.03, 618.42, and 613.18 is where you broke out from. Okay, you've came quite a way. The one thing I'm going to point out is you have increasing volume every one of these days where you drag yourself into new highs here. yeah, you know, buyers are supporting this rally. So it's not just this crazy short squeeze rally that's going to have the rug pulled. I mean, maybe the rug gets pulled, but, you know, I'm just telling you, volume supporting the move. All right. Clear as day, NVIDIA, like sentiment. Okay. It makes sense what's happening with SPY and QQ. It makes sense the market is rocketing. All right. Like, it's not just a crazy short squeeze blow off top kind of thing. I just want to make that clear. All right. But those are SPY and QQQ, guys. IWM, it's looking a bit hot. Bit heavy here. We'll see if this turns into a bearish engulfing candlestick by the end of the week, and maybe we get a larger pullback, come closer into this weekly 21 EMA. All right, but definitely looking a bit heavy after today. You had a chance to push to new highs over here. It was consolidating, looking real tight, looking real nice up at the highs. All right, and you didn't take it. Okay, you didn't take it. You faded instead. You know, it's not the best thing there. DAA, same thing. Okay, just extended, not as extended over here as SPY and QQ, but yeah, definitely has that same look going on. All right. You know, and does this look all that bearish to you, though? If you do pull back, you're just kind of still going to be above moving averages. Okay. Just pulling back into where you just broke out from. Does it look all that bad to you? Or does it look like you're probably going, like odds favor, you're probably going to find buyers there? And you push back up to new high because it's just a break and retest off the, you know, daily 21, daily 9 EMA over there. It's not looking all that bad. Okay. So yes, pull back, but probably very likely, in my personal opinion, to be bought. You know, coming over to the mags. Okay, the mags ETF here. This is the Magnificent 7 stocks. That's the only thing that is in this ETF here. All right, and this is how they're treating you. They're selling you. Okay, but what are you coming back down into? Just the moving averages. Okay, you're a high flyer. You're probably still going to find buyers over here for a higher low. Worst case scenario, you retest 65.73. All right, Amazon, you have earnings tomorrow after the bell. It is selling a little bit down off of, you know, off these earnings that are reporting today. But, you know, honestly, this doesn't look all that bad. It looks like this thing wants to get back up to highs. Now, that being said, Meta also was sitting right next to highs here. Okay, it could have easily went the other way, but it didn't. All right, you faded. So it just really goes to show you that into earnings, like it really is something you have no idea what the outcome is going to be. It doesn't matter how that chart is setting up. We can say, you know, yeah, okay, the charts are setting up in a certain manner here, but at the end of the day, yeah, if they want to dump the thing, they're going to dump the thing. All right, there's nothing you could do about it, which is why I tell people, hey, you probably just shouldn't be messing with earnings. You want consistency, you want an edge. There is no edge in holding things through earnings. There's just not. There's not. All right, there's not. There's just not. It's completely random every single time. You might as well just not participate because there is no gauging probabilities. There's just not. All right, Google, guys, ended up getting quite a move here. Quite a move into the highs. I think it's probably going that 300 cycle level, but, you know, it's going to be doing its own thing. Maybe it's just going to keep, you know, grinding higher here. Maybe it's pulling a Microsoft. It's just going to keep going. All right, maybe it's going to do one of these guys where you gap up and you fade to move the next day. I'd say, honestly, a lot of puts, I'd say are probably worth it over here on GOOG just to see if you do get, you know, 10, 15 point fade over here. Not saying it's going to happen, but you've seen a decent amount of times off these earnings gap ups. So, yeah, you might be right back down to 280 tomorrow for all I know. That's Google. Microsoft, guys, like I was pointing out earlier, you are just pulling back into the daily moving averages. The fact that we got up here tells us we very likely are going to be returning back up there. I can't tell you when. All right. But, yeah, you know, worst case, we're probably just going to consolidate in this area and then push up later on, maybe in a few months. But, you know, I would just leave the Mag 7 stocks alone right now. Okay. Apple. All right, Apple does have earnings tomorrow, guys. We are pushing up into this. We're just going to have to see where earnings take you. But honestly, I can't imagine them really just pumping you up off of, you know, the look you got right here. I feel like they're going to dump Apple. But again, you know, I know that dip's going to be bought. It's just going to take more time. So yeah, guys, just take a chill pill. Take a step back here. You know, if you got things ripping like Palantir, you know, that was my heaviest position there. I'm out. You know, this thing, I want to keep it on. All right, I was keeping on 5 out of, you know, I had 15 contracts going over here. Yeah, at the same time, I saw this thing, you know, everything just started taking shit. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to clip the rest of it anyway. It doesn't make too much of a difference. Maybe I got a pullback, maybe I get to add it. You know, honestly, if we got a decent pullback, I would definitely have added some, you know, back into earnings there. 100%. I think this thing is going a lot higher. But yeah, definitely if you got uncertainty going on, and if we have, again, NASDAQ, 13 out of 13 times since, December 2023 when you broke into all-time highs. If you break into all-time highs on decreasing volume on that weekly candle, next week, you see sellers step in some way, shape, or form. This week, we've had there's no sign of sellers in sight. All right, which tells you have 2 more sessions. You're probably going to do it in one of those. I don't know why people want to go against those odds. I gave you guys those odds before the week started, and I hope you guys are having a good time. And yeah, I hope you guys are killing this market, okay? But yeah, Palantir definitely started ripping today, okay? Tesla over here, guys, it dipped with the rest of the market, got bought up. I'm just going to say watch for the break above 470.75. That should bring you up to 488.54, and then you got $500. It's very likely going to happen within 1 to 2 sessions from there. But, honestly, this thing's been trading like shit. I don't like it. I don't like that, I'm just very clearly, trying to be early here to another impulsive move here. Okay, if anybody has been trying to trade it, okay, it has been a sloppy mess inside, this range. You're starting to get out of it, but it's still playing the games, okay? So, I'm just still going to say take a step back, okay? Take a chill pill on the market right now, okay? I got some stocks here that I think are going to be doing real well. So one definitely that I think is going to be doing real well into end of week that you guys should put on your radar. But yeah, Mag 7 stocks, guys, they really have just been bipolar recently. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We have had, clearly some nice moves on some of them. Okay, we identified Google over here was setting up better than the rest. All right, there's that. Microsoft got the pop over this level right over here, 520. Yep, gave you a decent pop to go off of, okay? But, really the rest of them, NVIDIA even, like this thing, they've all been trading like shit. I know NVIDIA is doing this, but what is this crap over here? I'm just pointing out, there are other stocks to trade, and these Mag 7 stocks really have not, they have not given you any consistent price action to go off of. They are very bipolar at the moment. You might as well just wait. All right, so there's that, guys. Those are the Mag 7 stocks. NVIDIA is probably going to be pulling back and then pushing higher. I imagine we're probably, next week, if we pull back, we'll probably get bought up and print a candle like that, and we continue pushing the week after that. All right, that's my expectations over there on NVIDIA, okay? And as far as stocks that are standing out, guys, first of which we got AVGO. I pointed out in yesterday's video, this thing is looking pretty sweet, all right? Pretty sweet. How I expect this thing to trade is just how it has in the past. Okay, you push up, you look for your pullbacks, look for your reversion to the means. Very clearly extended over here. It's being done on volume, so you like to see it, but 110%, you're not trying to buy it up here. You're not. We definitely had a lot of 390C got loaded today. They were definitely very, very active today. So I had a feeling they were going to pump it up. That was the 10, 15 points lower there. But yeah, I'm 100% going to tell you every other move for years here. Okay, you get these impulsive moves, you revert to mean. Okay, just wait. Just take the chill pill. You're going to get the mean reversion. It's pretty much a guarantee. Look at even when you're pushing new highs over here, what happens? That week you get a pullback. This week you get a pump and a dump. Okay, next week you just pump. Oh, next week you get a pullback followed by a pump. Oh, you get a pump followed by a pullback. I'm just pointing out every 1 to 2 weeks, it looks like you get a decent pullback here that you could easily just long, and it's definitely happened around, your mean reversion, around, your daily 21 or your 90 EMA. You might as well just wait, okay? But AVGO, I'm really liking it. All right, NBIZ, I'm thinking this is probably going to be making a move up to these highs, 140, 110. I feel like they're going to hold it down until earnings, but I think they might bring you up here and maybe you just consolidate around that area. It looks like this thing wants to start pushing back up into end of week. All right, and that is NBIZ above 129.03. You have nothing till 141.10. All right, and then here's what I think is going to be, no matter what, I don't think it's going to matter what the market's doing. It is looking like it's going to move on its own here. It looks like it wants to take out 1748 and above 1748, guys. I think we go to 20 plus real quick. But yeah, do not be surprised to see another, good 15 to 30% day realistically over here on this name by the end of the week. All right, it's really shaping up. Ended up getting in last week, and I think this thing is I think it's going to be making some moves, okay? Above 1645, nothing till 1748. Above there, 20 plus incoming, baby. UMAC, UMAC. Anet, ANET, pushing up, breaking out in the after-hour session here. You do have earnings coming hot next week. But yeah, 100%. This is definitely standing out, and I have to assume it's probably going to keep grinding higher. If you can get through earnings there, if I have a feeling they're just going to pump it off earnings. But, you know, if you trade flat off earnings, or if it gives you, you know, a little dip there, doesn't violate, you know, this low over here, I think it's a valid dip buy. Okay. So I'm going to be watching for it. And that is a net ANET. All right. Palantir, I was already vocal about it earlier in the video. It's our baby. It's finally moving. Okay. It's finally moving. It is a time, guys. Okay. If you were buying in down here, guess what? You know, I bought in, you know, I'm going to double down on this candle right over here. Guess what? Okay. That is about a 20-point move. All right. If you caught that the last few sessions, just take a step back. Okay, take a step back. This is the exact move you're trying to catch. You're now sitting right underneath 200 bucks. Please start taking profits, okay? I think it is going to be going higher. I think they are going to bring you higher off of earnings next week, but I'm really not sure because, again, earnings. But they did just unveil, you know, super important partnership between Palantir and NVIDIA there. So we'll see if they talk about that and pump the stock. Either way, I think this thing is destined for higher price. You have 5 weeks of consolidation here in a range that consists of 15 points or so. You're now breaking out of that, okay? You know, I think this thing is going 210 to 220 over the coming weeks, okay? That is Palantir. CRWV, guys, standing out, okay? Also, February 140C coming in, you know, very active today. You can see it coming in last hour of the day there. But definitely holding up, guys. A lot of strength going on this name over here as the market was just not holding up at highs here. What did CRWV do? Okay, it started popping off when Jerome Powell decided to say how important data centers are to this whole AI puzzle. You know, straight up, Jerome started pumping CRWV over here. I like how the daily candle printed over here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see this thing start heating up in the short term. If we can take out 141.79 tomorrow, we're going to be looking for this move through 148.80. Okay, through there, like you're through all of the mess. Okay, and you already rejected this spot once. So if you get through it, like that's what triggers it's a powerful move. There is also the chance they just wait for earnings. I'm going to point out what happened last earnings. You dumped. So I would like them to make this move beforehand because I probably will not hold everything through earnings. Just myself, though. No financial advice will be given here on this channel. You guys can do whatever you want with this information I'm giving you. Okay, but I hope my research here that I give to you for absolutely no cost to you, 5 days a week, I hope it is useful. Okay, if it is, just please remember to leave a like, guys. I don't know what I've been doing to piss y'all off, but you guys have not been leaving likes. We went from, you know, 400, around 400 likes each video to like 200 likes the past few. Please, everybody, if you are a returning viewer, which I know most of you are, I know there is literally 1 to 1.5K. It's more like 1.5 to 2. Every single video, please just remember to leave a like. It genuinely is the only thing that helps me out here on YouTube, and I do definitely give a lot of research for absolutely no cost to you. So please just remember to scratch my back. I will always scratch your back. Please just remember to return the favor every now and then. I greatly appreciate it. Love y'all. All right, but that's CRWV. MDB, okay? MDB. It's getting ready, guys. It is almost ready to go. And yeah, I don't think it's going to matter what the market's doing over here. Okay, this looks like, you know, this thing's going to hit it with a stick right around the corner. You have earnings all the way out in December. I do not think it's going to wait until then to make its next move. I know some of these pops happen off of earnings. I think it's probably going to get going out of this range we got going on here. Look at almost a 40-point range. It looks like it's about to do it. You know, it's consolidating over here. This is 4 days of consolidation right at the top of the range. It looks like this thing wants to break up in the short term. Above 344.85, we have nothing until 370 to 387.19. The supply zone up there. And above 387.19, we have the 400 psych level, 420, and then 442.84. Okay? MDB. Joby, Joby, all right, has been in consolidation here for 3 months, right around previous all-time high, IPO high right there, okay? That's a good first sign right there. Now we see price has been consolidating, condensing over here, compressing around the moving averages, okay, on the daily time frame, and is just now starting. It looks like you're just now starting to break out from that consolidation, okay? You're starting to finally get some movement there. What is causing the movement, you ask? NVIDIA, all right? NVIDIA has entered the scene, and now we have a partnership over here with Joby. This is probably going to start heating up over the coming weeks. I imagine next week, You have earnings. I imagine they will be discussing this NVIDIA partnership there. And I think this is probably going to start moving back up here. And hey, if you break through here, like this is going to be a big move. All right. This has been getting ready for something for a long time. We all know these things can take long times. They can. Okay. But at some point they do just go. Like this thing around the IPO high right above it for what, months? 4 months, Joby, you know, it's already 3 months into this process at this point. I want to say about 3 months. No, about 4 months, 3.5 months right there, okay? This thing might start heating up right around the corner. Just keep it on your radar. That's JOBY. NNE, all right? Solar, not solar, nuclear, starting to heat back up today, okay? We got SMR, we got OCO especially. OCO is really the big mover over here on the nuclear. And again, I think this was fueled by Jerome just literally mentioning data centers. And I think people just connected dots. The market participants connected the dots there. And they're like, okay, something has to power these data centers, you know, as things start growing. I'm guessing that is what sparked it. I don't think there was any other catalyst other than that. But 100%, I know Oakland started fading that move. NNE looks pretty beautiful over here on the weekly. It looks like, you know, a larger move is just loading up over here on the weekly. And then on the daily, you see, again, just like over there on JOBY, you're just compressing around the moving average over here. They're getting real tight, okay? And it looks like you're starting to break out from that consolidation. Above 48.05, guys, you know, you got this little area. It looks like you dance around, you know, this big middle ground right there, $53. But above there, 60.87. This is where the move starts up down here. Okay, pulled back to the week of 21. This week pulled back to the 9, found buyers off it. Like this looks great. Okay, this looks like this still can have a big move around the corner. Monthly chart looks great. NNE. All right, if a move's going to start up, it starts from down here, right here. NNE. Lemonade, I think people forgot about. I haven't seen it in a while. All right, but when I was scanning through my tickers today, okay, this one definitely stood out. 110%, guys. Lemonade, I know you have earnings next week, and I don't know if you're going to pump off them, but some of these, you definitely do pump off earnings, and I will not be surprised at all to see this thing have a decent-sized earnings move up. I will not be surprised at all. This is the third time now you're testing the top of this range, okay? It is probably going to break. It looks like it could be explosive. It looks like you probably have a nice 1 to 2 week move loan over here. And yeah, it's going to be earnings that sparks it, or you start running before earnings. Okay, you know, this week we continue this move up, break $62 above 62. You have 66.48, 70, and then 79.54. And you can see it monthly, weekly. These things look ready to move, guys. I'm telling you, weekly looks tight over there. Looks ready to go. And monthly, you know, look at these two back-to-back upper wicks. You're now starting to get above there. Well, this monthly candle can expand, and you only have a few more days here, guys. Only a few more days in this monthly candle. All right. Okay. All right. But that is Lemonade. Second to last, Riot. All right. Right over here, guys. You do have earnings. They're coming in hot tomorrow. I think after. Yeah, after the bell there. After the close. This thing might be getting an outsized earnings move. Either way, I'm going to watch for it. I'm not going to be touching it. But yeah, after earnings, that's more of when I'm going to be interested. Maybe they dump you down. Maybe they bring you back over here around, you know, 15, 16 bucks. I think that probably gets bought pretty quick if we get it. Either way, I'm paying attention to this one. And if it doesn't move much off of earnings, that's more appealing there because the premiums are going to get crushed. I'd personally like them to gap you down off earnings, though. This looks pretty beautiful. This looks like it's destined to have a larger move going here. You're just now starting to break out from this massive base you got going on here since April 2022. You're just now starting to break up from that. You got to love it. Okay, that's Riot. Open. OPEN. Now, this one's a bit of a tricky one. And I'm just going to say it's either going to break up from this wedge. You take out 855 and it starts going this week. All right. Or you just have to wait and hope it rips off earnings next week. Okay. But I will definitely say you don't want to just print a consolidation candlestick this week. You don't. All right. You don't. The last few times along this run, you start printing that green candle. The next one is followed up with another green candle. This one's not. All right. This is just getting tight at this point. You're right against the weekly 9 EMA. This gave you a real tight spot to risk. You just risked 777 down here. Guess what? The thing was a piece of shit and took it out. And for all I know, they're still going to pump you into end of week here. So I'm just going to tell you, they're either going to pump this thing dirty style, or they're not. And this thing is a lost cause, and I would just completely leave it alone. You know, earnings is next week. If this thing doesn't pump its ass off, this is a piece of shit, and no one should be trading this thing anymore, okay? I'm just going to say it had a massive move going over here. You had rate cuts today. You thought that might have been the catalyst, you know, I was waiting on. No, the thing just dumps harder than everything else. So it's showing relative weakness against the market. It's not what you want to see. Okay, so I'm telling you for a fact, there is a catalyst next week. If this piece of shit doesn't go off that, write it off and put it on the piece of shit list. Don't trade it. You just don't have a reason to. Here on this channel, guys, I'll give you continuous tickers every single week that are going to get movement. And this thing, we caught big moves over here, over here. I'm not sure if we caught that, but I feel like I was pretty early over here on open. I know I've traded 2 or 3 times along this run. I definitely caught this big one. That was a big one over here. But yeah, I'm the guy who put it on your radar over here. I'm telling you, like, you definitely saw it other places, but I'm just telling you, I will let you know when things are running. And this thing's been trading like a piece of shit. It's clearly consolidating for some reason, getting ready for, you know, there's got to be a catalyst. And this is the only one that we know of. If it doesn't move off that, write it off. Screw this thing. Don't touch it. I got you with plenty of tickers that are going to be moving. And this, you don't have to waste your mental capacity on this guy. Okay? Your mental energy. All right, guys. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. All right. Top watches. I'm telling you, into end of week. UMAC. All right. You do have earnings in 2 weeks here. Okay. It's on the 13th. This thing looks like it's going to take out 1748 and probably run 20 plus. I'm thinking we might get that move into end of week here. Please put it on your radar. Okay. And with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope you guys are killing this market. If you want to come trade this market with me, okay, I have full intention of killing it. That link is down below. I'm live every day. And with that being said, guys, I hope everybody has a lovely rest of your day, and peace.